From MTN News, this is Montana This Morning.
A night of healing, how the small community of Byron, Wyoming continues to come together for each other after tragic loss. A disturbing highway scene, how the discovery of a group of dead puppies on the side of the highway is putting the spotlight on a larger issue. And cleanup continues, what crews must do as they keep investigating what caused a train to derail in Custer County. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Montana This Morning on this Wednesday, February 26th. I'm Casey Conlon in for Augusta McDonald here with Miller Robson as it continues to melt.
Yeah, the snow melt out there. Ground is still frozen out there, even though those temperatures warmer, 40s, maybe some 50s today, even some 60s in the forecast. So it's going to take a little longer for that ground to melt, or to thaw out. So that means the snow melt, it's runoff. It's flooding everywhere. Just watch out, especially to our north for ponding on the roads out there. We had some flooding up there around Tongue River. So just be careful. Also, ice jam's an issue out there too. And we'll tell you more about that as we go along this morning. And we'll talk about those nice roasty, toasty temperatures too. Look at that yesterday, 48, a good 6 degrees above normal. Our low of 38, a good 17 degrees above the average. Yesterday, big story, of course, the winds, 46 mile an hour gusts. Now we're going to be breezy today. We could still have gusts generally across the area today, 20 to 30 miles an hour, maybe even some gusts over that around the western foothills. But as we get into tomorrow, the winds are going to start to pick back up again. Dry day yesterday. Moisture totals, though, for the month and the year, we're in good shape. Also, the snow totals as well. Pretty dry stretch coming in after seeing some snow in the Beartooth and the Absaroka this morning. But as we get into the latter part of the weekend, first part of next week, maybe a chance we could see some snow return here to the lower elevations. Right now, warmer than average. 36 as we wake up, should be around 21 at the airport. Feels like 25. Winds out the west at about 20 miles an hour. Mainly in the 30s as we wake up on our way to a day with lots of sunshine with highs in the 40s and 50s. Full forecast straight ahead.
All right. Thank you very much, Miller. We'll check back in a little bit.
Okay, bye.
The wounds are still fresh for dozens in the small Wyoming town of Byron. It's been 16 days since 4 girls, all under the age of 10, were killed by their mother before she turned the gun on herself. The community coming together last night to try and continue to cope with what happened. Our Matt Carmack was on hand for the latest step in the healing process.
Over 65 Wyoming residents, including the governor, gathered right here in the Byron Town Hall to discuss mental health awareness, collective grief, and suicide prevention.
Having the opportunity to have some space, but also know that
it was a packed house Tuesday night.
It's okay. I'm here to say it is okay to reach out for help.
Full of residents, counselors, and others, all grieving the loss of 4 young girls and their mother, Tranielle Harshman, who was struggling through several mental health issues at the time.
This is the hardest thing that Byron, Wyoming has ever experienced.
The mayor of Byron, Alan Clark, personally knew the Harshmans. He wanted to provide a public space for the community to talk about those hard topics like depression, but without the stigma.
Mental health is a huge issue in this area and in Wyoming.
Among those resources is the Oxbow Center, an agency for mental health and addictions counseling.
We are a community, and so to build those bonds and relationships, to reach out, it's okay to ask for help. It's actually a strength. It's harder to ask for help than to not.
The multiple mental health professionals at the meeting shared a consistent theme in their messages. Help is available.
It's important to not bury those things, to talk about it with a friend, a neighbor.
Besides being a member in the community, Brianna Barker was one of Tranielle's closest friends.
When someone is struggling with depression or struggling with postpartum, that they can say, hey, I need help, and it's okay to need help.
After witnessing 5 losses from postpartum depression, she wants to spread a message of hope before it's too late for others.
This doesn't stop today, and there are still a lot of moms and families out there that need help. And I hope that we can join together and just support each other as a community.
Meanwhile, just a few blocks away, a small memorial sits outside of the Harshman's house.
It's important that we stick together and show affectionate, show that we care.
A sign of solidarity within the community. In Byron, Matt Carmack, MTN News.
The trial has begun in the case of a Billings man accused of beating and drowning his young stepson in scalding hot water. Christopher Michael Harris Simchuk is charged with deliberate homicide and assault on a minor in the 2021 death of the boy. The state began presenting its case yesterday in the trial that's expected to last at least a few days. The boy, born in 2017, was found unresponsive in the bathtub of the family's home by his mother. The mother told investigators that Harris Simchuk was often physically abusive to her and her 3 children. On the evening of the boy's death, she said that Harris Simchuk had taken the boy into the bathroom and heard the boy yelling, but was told he was fine. She then went to check on him when she didn't hear any sound coming from the bathroom and found him unresponsive. A medical examiner determined he died from brain swelling, possibly caused by several factors, including drowning, hypothermia, and blunt force trauma. A disturbing scene in Bighorn County. 10 puppies found dead on the side of Highway 212 near the Little Bighorn battlefield. While the circumstances surrounding the puppies' deaths remain unclear, it's a case that rescue groups say highlight a much larger problem on Montana's tribal communities. Our Haley Monica reports.
The 10 puppies are still here as of Tuesday afternoon. They're just off to the side of me here, right off the highway.
A shocking scene.
It's heartbreaking because it's unnecessary.
10 puppies lying along Highway 212, left like litter.
It's really tough, and it can feel really defeating.
It's not clear if the puppies were thrown out of a vehicle, abandoned, or if they made their way to this spot before dying. But they highlight a bigger problem that many nonprofits are trying to tackle.
Kind of cultural how they've been out there, dogs mostly free roam.
The population problem is it's just overwhelming.
Sandy Newton is the executive director of Spay Montana, a nonprofit based in Helena that travels around the state spaying and neutering pets for free, addressing the overpopulation crisis seen across the country.
Stories like this one that's coming up right now is particularly sad because it's kind of needless in a way.
Nonprofits such as Freckles and Tomcat do their best to rescue and rehabilitate as many animals as they can.
Laurel, for example, was dumped by the interstate by a rest area. We'll probably never know who did it. She came in with ringworm, parvo, giardia.
Dogs wander the streets on reservations.
Many of them do have families, but, they are just, running with their friends down the street.
Often leading to more overpopulation and the spread of disease.
Part of our mission, and along with, multiple other rescues who, pull dogs from out there, is really just educating the importance of spaying and neutering especially, and also vaccinating.
Organizations doing their best to handle an overwhelming problem.
That's the only solution to the crisis across the country, really, is spaying and neutering.
One that these puppies bring to light even more.
Just devastation, really, for as hard as all the rescues work, to try to prevent things like this.
In Crow Agency, Haley Monaco, MTN News.
New this morning, the Vatican says Pope Francis had a quiet night and is resting after he remained hospitalized for a 12th night at Rome's Gemelli Hospital. The Pope was admitted to the medical facility on February 14th with a serious respiratory illness that has since triggered other health problems. This has been the longest hospital stay of his papacy. And the confusion continues for federal workers about whether they are required to respond to an email from Elon Musk. Musk, who's heading up Trump's efforts to slash the government, sent a letter on Friday requiring 5 bullet points from employees outlining what they did over the last week. He said failure to reply would result in their firings. But now a letter from the Trump administration says agency heads may exclude personnel from this expectation at their discretion. However, some of the president's advisors insist federal employees must still comply. The White House says more than 1 million employees have already responded to Musk's email. Republican Congressman Rich McCormick, who faced backlash last week, now says the mass firings need to slow down in order to study their impact. Investigators are still looking for answers after a train derailed late Monday night just west of Miles City. That derailment involving 25 to 27 coal cars, all sent off the tracks, dangling over the Yellowstone River. Our David J. has the latest on the environmental concerns it may present.
We're about 15 to 20 miles west of Miles City. The derailment happened down this road about a mile. We've seen the BNSF crews going in and out. We don't have permission from BNSF or from the landowner to go down there to get pictures, but we're told about 25 to 27 cars derailed.
They got a ton of equipment already on scene.
Corey Chagas was among the first on scene Monday night.
The biggest part was just getting out here, evaluating the situation, see what we had.
Chagas is a Custer County Fire Chief and DES coordinator and knows this area well. A long stretch of railway where the tracks hug the banks of the Yellowstone River.
Obviously, we have this water runoff, so accessing it was extremely difficult due to the mud and water runoff and the proximity where it was.
No one was injured, and photos obtained by MTN show at least some of the train's cars spilled into the river. BNSF says all of the derailed cars were carrying coal, but would not say exactly how many toppled into the water.
There's a little bit in the water, but we're working with Public Works out of Miles City, just monitoring. EPA's on scene, monitoring that situation as well. Honestly, out of all the things that could have derailed, it's probably the best things that could have derailed, except for empty cars.
The land where the train derailed is about 12 miles west of Miles City on private land, far from any public roads. BNSF officials declined requests for an interview and have provided few details about the cleanup, but say it's expected the tracks will be repaired and back open to rail traffic by midday Wednesday.
It was a small bridge that was impacted, just going over a creek, so they plan on getting that fixed right away.
Near Miles City, David J., MTN News.
Train derailments have become a far too common occurrence in Montana in recent years. In September of 2021, an Amtrak train left the tracks along the High Line near Joplin. 3 people were killed, a bent rail blamed for that derailment. Then in April of 23, 24 cars full of beer spilled into the Clark Fork River in western Montana. 3 months later, disaster in our own backyard. 10 Montana Rail Link cars plummeted into the Yellowstone near Reed Point when a bridge collapsed. More recently, in October of last year, 12 train cars full of grain derailed near Essex, Montana. And just 2 weeks ago, another derailment near Poplar, where 12 more BNSF cars toppled over.